Conflicts, displacement, climate-related emergencies, and humanitarian challenges continue to shape the global landscape. I would like us to move now to issues of migration, displacement, and human dignity. Migration, which is currently a challenge here in South Africa, remains a major topic globally and within Africa. What humanitarian concerns arise when people are forced to move due to conflict, instability, and economic hardships?
There's a number of those, and we touched a bit upon that, and I'm not going to go back on how, at the basis of it, if rules are respected, then you will see less people needing to leave because their lives are not being uprooted, because they are not losing their livelihoods, because they're not losing their houses, their food security, and so on and so forth. We can talk about also those who move related to climate, and sometimes the two are linked, conflict, climate. But I mean, from all my experience, and I've on this continent, I've worked in Nigeria, I've worked in South Sudan, I've worked in Sudan, DRC, I've been around, and I've met numbers of IDPs and refugees, and the first question, when you ask them their first question, what would you want, and their answer is not, I want to be here and and take as much as I can. It's I want to go home, I want my children to be in school, and I want to be safe. That's the number one thing that you hear. And we're talking about people who are oftentimes not displaced once, but twice, and sometimes even 3 times. So they had to pick up and leave everything they had with a small bag and move somewhere else. And then they had to do that again and again. And so by the 3rd time, it is people who are desperately vulnerable. It's people who have, most of the time, lost members of their families. They don't know. Are they dead? Are they alive? Where are they? Sometimes it's children. They've lost children in the way. And the ICRC reunites children on a regular basis with their parents. The movement of the Red Cross and Red Crescent, I mentioned the 80 million volunteers. It's less than that in the whole continent of Africa, but still, they are present in every communities. And if they see children that are alone, they will, what's your name, who are your parents, and eventually connect them with the parents looking also for their children through the Red Cross network, and then you allow them to meet. But that doesn't happen for everyone all the time. And then there are those who are simply missing. They died somewhere, nobody knows. So that's one major concern. The second concern is for the fate of their children. What kind of education do you have if all you're doing is living off of your backpack from one place to another, arriving in environments when schools are occupied by other displaced persons, or sometimes just too full, or you don't speak the language. How do you get an education, and how can you then hope that generation will prevent what has happened from happening again if you have children who are not having the chance of being in school, of learning, of developing, and of eventually having aspirations of a career, of a family, and of stability. Then you have, of course, all that is linked with poor services, poor water, poor nutrition, poor health, climate effects, etc. And that leads to diseases, that leads to chronic diseases, and then you have what you see in many countries, the host communities, which are always very mobilized at the beginning to say, well, we have in solidarity with what you are going through, but eventually also feel the same burden. They also have the same issues in terms of climate effect, food security. Prices are going up for everybody. Fuel is going up for everybody. And so at the end, you ask yourself, how can I continue, showing this solidarity if it's also affecting me? And so there you start having problems between communities. And that's something we see from Southeast Asia to Latin America. It's everywhere. Is it right? Of course not. It's not because it's global that it makes it right. But I also think here that it's a tremendous responsibility also for states to choose. What do we do? Do we say yes? Do we say no? How do we move forward with that? But I do think that there is more that can be done before this happens, and that's through how do you protect those populations when war break out? How do you prevent these displacement? How do you ensure that communities can continue to enjoy peace, relative peace, livelihoods, farming, etc. And if their interests are protected, they're much less likely to go anywhere.